I'm in Glasgow, where I grew up as a kid. Many things have changed since then, but one thing which has remained largely unchanged are the street names. And I'm going to pick a few of those street names, only a few, and give you the stories, and they are stories, behind the names. I hope you enjoy it. Rotten Row Gardens, and we are just going to go up to the signboard and then we'll have a quick look around it and I'll tell you about it. This is Rotten Row Gardens down here, now part of Strathclyde University. The origins from Rotten Row, I know it doesn't sound very nice, were probably originally rattan wool. Quite what rattan meant is unknown. So we'll have to take a bit of a guess. However, there is also a theory that this used to be a very upmarket part of town, and it's all French words. Rue comes raton, and that the rue was actually the place for the ladies to walk, or it could be rue as in royal, but that's a bit of a guess. So here we are, Rotten Row, not a very nice name, but it's now become a bit of Glasgow folklore. Origins unknown. So this is Ramshorn Church, except it isn't. It's actually St. David's Church, but everyone knows it as Ramshorn. And the reason that is there used to be a field here where they kept the sheep, and particularly the rams. I'm looking down at St. David's Church, and behind it, Ramshorn Graveyard. There are several stories as to why it is called Ramshorn Graveyard. And the one I particularly like goes as follows. In this field, before it was a graveyard, there was a flock of sheep belonging to the church. And one night a man came, stole a ram, and then took it away and killed it by chopping off its head. As soon as he did so, the head petrified and stuck to his arm. And he had no choice but to go back to the church to confess his sins. There, St. Mungo, patron saint of Glasgow, forgave him and allowed him to keep the ram, hence Ramshorn. So I'm standing on Candle Rigs, which is probably named after the candle works that used to be here a long time ago. But there's another more interesting story, that behind us, where the church is, the minister actually said one day, we need to get the crops brought in because the weather's going to change, although they didn't think it was, but they did. And they had to work through the night, and to bring in all the crops, they used candles, so they could actually do it. and they brought in the crops, and the next day a storm came. So it's candle rigs, or the candle work. So I'm standing in St.Enoch Square, and if you look up on the internet you probably won't find a St.Enoch, because actually that's a corruption of the word Thenew. St. Thenew was the mother of St. Mungo, I hope you can keep up with this, and St. Mungo is the patron saint of Glasgow. Now there used to be one of the main railway stations here, but that's long gone, as have the hotels that went with it, and we have a shopping mall behind us and the subway behind me. St. Enoch's. Queen Street, one of the famous streets in Glasgow, and a lot of people wonder which queen it's named after, and it's actually Queen Charlotte, who was the partner of George III. George III coming after George II and before George IV. Before it was called Queen Street, it was called Cow Low, because this is where the cattle used to come through the town, and it was one of the muddiest streets in Glasgow, famous for its mud. Not anymore. Okay, one of Glasgow icons is the Duke of Wellington, and tradition, relatively modern one, has it he must wear traffic cones along with his horse. The question is, what is the name of his horse? Good old Duke of Wellington, with traffic cones. Sockinghall Street. Origins very difficult to understand, but a possibility is that the Haw would be a meadow, which is then probably became Hall, and then you have Sow, which is where the willow grows. So the meadow with the willows, possibly. But its time has moved on, and now all we know is it's Sockinghall Street, which used to be the premium shopping area, and even that has drifted a little, but it's still a very famous street in Glasgow. But new development is on its way. And amongst the new you'll find the old, such as the Charles Rennie Mackintosh Cafe, all squares, right angles and straight back chairs. So just off Sockinghall Street, and behind me is the Art College, which sadly burnt down not once but twice. Not sure what they're going to do with it. So that's the damaged art school that was nearly finished from the repairs from the first fire. It caught fire again, and that's extended all the way down here through these buildings right down to the bottom. Cinema, all gone. Sockinghall Street, and this is Glasgow's first Art Deco building. Still going strong, nice fresh coat of paint, and in Glasgow, if you've made it, you have a nickname. This apparently is rhubarb and custard. Yeah, I can see that. Square. Quite a few pigeons today, enjoying the sun. A few bits to eat, I think. Under the watchful eye, Lord Nelson. Or is that the Duke of Wellington? I'll have to find out.